Good morning. It is Thursday, April 20th, 2023, back here for Daily Shakeup number 703. And you see these three letters behind me, WTH. Frankly, it could also say WTF, because I want to talk to you today about a leadership blind spot. And I actually wonder if it's truly a blind spot. And the question I want to start with is this: what is the biggest challenge for leaders, typically some form of positional leaders or managers who have that kind of people responsibility? Is it lack of self-awareness about the issue? In other words, they just don't realize it's an issue. Or number two, is it lack of being openness to or receiving feedback about that issue? So in other words, it's a blind spot. I don't know about it. I don't get feedback, or when I do get feedback, I'm not really open to it. So lack of openness. Or number three is I'm not willing to change. Maybe I know how to change, but I'm really just, this is how I am kind of mindset. Hey, take it or leave it. This is who I am. Don't try to change me. And what I think about is it's probably some combination in any one of those, but maybe all three. And the biggest challenge is sometimes it is all three together. And I wanted to share with you a quick story that I heard this week that incredibly just blew my mind. And at some level, I'm still not surprised. So a good friend of mine was on a Zoom call recently with some collaborators on a new project they're working on. There were 3 or 4 of them on the call, and one of the potential collaborators engaged in the conversation in a way that really didn't work for one of the other collaborators and had not really done what they said they were going to do. So at the end of the discussion, the one collaborator that I know said to the other, hey, I'd like to give you some feedback, and proceeds to give them feedback. They thought in a good way, with encouragement, but just saying, hey, this would be better next time kind of thing. You know, feedback is vital to leaders. We all have blind spots. So apparently the feedback wasn't the problem, but the response was something like this. The person who received the feedback said, you don't get to give me feedback at all, and you certainly don't get to give it to me that way, which led to, I'll call it a discussion. And eventually my friend said to them, well, okay, can you help me understand what would be a better way to give you feedback? I think it's important. So in other words, to help me understand how to give you feedback. And now the response was, no, you don't get to ask that question. That's the quote. You don't get to ask that question. And then he went on to say, it was a he, my wife is very clear that she doesn't get to ask that question either. So basically he's saying, I'm not open to feedback. And if you want to try and learn how to give me feedback, don't bother, because I'm not open to it. And what he's really saying is, you don't get to give me feedback. My head explodes when I hear these situations, because here's someone who has leadership roles, and here's the really scary part. This person who was not open to feedback, was not open to talking about how to improve the communication around feedback, as a potential collaborator. Want to know what his career is? He's a leadership, people development coach, facilitator. His job is to help people work together better, to build better relationships in the workplace, to collaborate better, to grow more. That's his job, and yet that's his mindset. Massive gap, I would argue, beyond dangerous, and certainly worthy of a WTF, and certainly a WTH. That's it for today. Keep taking care of yourself and everyone around you, and by all means, stay connected.